Let's talk about something that every guy needs to understand. When your girlfriend has a best friend, what does that really mean for you? We all know that women have different types of friendships with men, but the real question is, how much danger are you in? Let's break it down. First, there's the girlfriend type of friend. He's a guy who's like a female friend. He cares about skincare, notices when she's changed her hair, and can even discuss lipstick shades with her. The guy's practically a walking beauty manual. He's the least threatening of them all. In 99% of cases, this type is safe, no competition here. Next up is the colleague friend. This is the guy who works with her. They spend 8 hours a day together, 5 days a week. They're always collaborating, having lunch, attending work events, and even traveling on business trips. This friend probably sees her more than you do. The threat level here is higher. They know each other's routines, struggles, and successes, making it easy for them to bond beyond just work friends. Then, we get to the alpha friend. Picture the guy who looks like he's been made in a gym. Broad shoulders, confident posture, and always looking like he could snap a branch with his bare hands. He's a man who knows what he's about, and your girlfriend is friends with him. You can bet that even if they're not dating, there's some level of attraction. She may say, "We're just friends," but you can tell there's something more beneath the surface. This friend is dangerous. The fourth category is the servant friend, the guy who's always there to listen to her vent, carry her stuff, take her to the cottage, and do whatever she asks without question. He's essentially her free therapist, chauffeur, and emotional janitor. This guy has zero threat unless something goes wrong in your relationship. But if you break up, you'll see him pop up, ready to comfort her. Very low threat level, for now. There's also the ex-friend. This is the guy from her past. Maybe they hooked up once or twice. She's not going to tell you about it. But one day, you'll find out. The moment you do, you'll understand that the threat level is high. This is the friend she never really closed the door on. He's always a potential threat, waiting for the right moment when you and her have a fight, or when she's vulnerable. Another type is the mentor friend. This guy's probably older than your girl, maybe even a boss or someone who's teaching her something. This is a high-risk friend, especially if your girl looks up to him. The more he teaches her, the more she'll start feeling like a little girl around him. That's where the desire starts brewing. It's only a matter of time before she might cross that line. And then we've got the reconnecting ex. This is a scenario I hear all the time. The ex reaches out after years of silence. He starts with friendly messages, nothing too overt. But soon enough, she's glued to her phone. You won't even realize when he slips back into her life because it starts off innocently. But once you find out they met up for coffee, you're already looking at a potential cheating situation. The threat here is undeniable. You know what's funny? A lot of guys assume that nothing bad can happen with these friends. But here's the truth. You never know what's really going on behind the scenes. I'm sure your girlfriend swears up and down that her best friend is just that, a best friend. But trust me, if there's one thing I know, it's that women are masterful at hiding their true emotions. When a guy enters her life, and you're not watching, there's always a chance that something more could develop. She might not admit it, but we all know what happens when they start spending time together in more personal settings. Maybe he's always there for her. Maybe he listens to her better than you ever could. There's a subtle power dynamic at play, and if you're not aware of it, you're playing a dangerous game. Let's think about this for a second. What if she's always telling you, "No, nothing's going on with Vito, we're just friends." But deep down, you know he's hanging around, and she's responding to him in ways that she doesn't with you? That subtle way she keeps replying to his texts late at night, or how she never fully explains why she's meeting him for lunch. The signs are there. And then, here comes the test. And I promise you, it's a game changer. Imagine this. You tell her, "Hey, let's test how just friends Vito really is. Have him come over. Let's see how he responds to the situation." You'll ask her to send him a message. Something simple like, "Hey Vito, want to meet up tonight? I've been thinking about you and really need someone to talk to." Let's see how he reacts. If he truly sees her as a friend, he'll refuse. He'll tell her, No, that's a bad idea. You're in a relationship. I don't want to step over any boundaries. But if Vito says, yeah, I'm on my way, or I'll be there in 10 minutes, you've got a huge problem on your hands. That's no longer just friendship. That's a blatant example of him waiting for his opportunity. One of the biggest lies men are taught is that attraction is fixed. That if a woman doesn't feel anything today, she never will. Psychology shows the opposite. Attraction is dynamic. It shifts with context, emotion, timing, and status. What feels neutral today can become dangerous tomorrow. And this is where the illusion of just a friend collapses. A man who exists inside a woman's emotional orbit already passed the first filter. He wasn't rejected. He wasn't pushed away. He was allowed to stay close. That alone matters. Emotional access is never neutral. It creates familiarity, bonding, shared language, inside jokes, and emotional safety. These are the same building blocks that romantic attraction feeds on when conditions change. Today, she may feel nothing. Tomorrow, you have a serious fight. She feels misunderstood, lonely, angry, or insecure. And suddenly, the emotional context shifts. The friend is there. He listens. He validates. He agrees with her version of events. He doesn't challenge her. He doesn't risk losing her. He becomes the soft landing. This is how attraction grows quietly, not through intention, but through proximity and timing. Many men underestimate how much emotional imprinting matters. When a woman repeatedly shares her doubts, frustrations, and vulnerabilities with another man, she is training her nervous system to associate comfort and relief with him. She may call it friendship, but the psyche doesn't label bonds. It just records emotional patterns. And patterns, over time, become attachment. This is why so many stories follow the same script. Nothing happened for years. Then one bad period. One vulnerable moment. One drink. One hug that lasted too long. And suddenly, it just happened. It didn't just happen. It was prepared slowly, invisibly, over time. There is also a brutal hypocrisy most people avoid addressing. When a woman says her male friend is harmless, unattractive, or not her type, she is often speaking truthfully in that moment. The problem is not dishonesty. The problem is assuming permanence. Attraction does not require planning. It requires opportunity plus emotional charge, and both can appear without warning. Look at how often preferences change. The man she once dismissed physically can improve himself, lose weight, gain confidence, earn status, become more socially dominant. Attraction is responsive, not ideological. The brain updates, desire adapts. This is why statements like, "I would never date someone like him," age so poorly. Now flip the situation. Imagine a man openly spending time with another woman. Emotionally close, frequent contact, shared jokes, private conversations. Most women would not accept it. They would sense the threat immediately. They wouldn't need proof. They wouldn't need a test. They would feel the imbalance instinctively. And yet, when the roles are reversed, men are expected to ignore that same instinct and call it insecurity. This is not confidence versus insecurity. It is awareness versus denial. Confidence does not mean blindness to risk. A confident person does not place value into fragile situations and hope nothing breaks. They reduce unnecessary exposure. They set standards. They understand that trust does not require naivety. Another overlooked factor is how women respond when boundaries are crossed by male friends. In most cases, the reaction is soft, gentle correction, no real consequence, no cutoff. The connection remains. This alone signals ambiguity. If the behavior were truly unacceptable, the bond would end. But it rarely does. Why? Because part of her enjoys the attention, even if she doesn't consciously admit it. And here is the final psychological reality. Friendship itself contains emotion. Laughter, teasing, shared memories, comfort. Emotion creates attachment. Attachment creates longing. Longing creates vulnerability. Pretending otherwise doesn't make it disappear. A man who understands this doesn't panic. He doesn't control. He doesn't argue. He observes patterns. He sets boundaries. He decides what kind of dynamics he allows access to his relationship. Not because he fears losing her, but because he respects himself enough not to participate in slow-motion risk disguised as innocence. At the end of all psychological explanations, behavioral patterns, and emotional dynamics, everything collapses into one unavoidable reality. Relationships are built on boundaries, not hopes, not intentions, not promises. Boundaries. And a man who does not define his boundaries clearly will always live inside someone else's rules. The idea that a relationship can remain healthy while ignoring predictable emotional risks is naive. It assumes that feelings are static, that people remain unchanged, and that proximity never alters desire. Real life does not work that way. Human behavior is fluid. Emotions evolve. Attraction responds to environment, stress, validation, and opportunity. Pretending otherwise is not maturity. It is avoidance. A man who respects himself understands that trust does not mean unlimited access. Trust means choosing situations that do not constantly test loyalty. There is nothing noble about placing your relationship into unnecessary emotional crossfire and calling it confidence. Strength is not allowing everything. Strength is deciding what you tolerate and what you do not. When a woman believes deeply in male-female friendship, she also believes that emotional closeness with other men is harmless. This belief system matters. It shapes her behavior long-term. It means she will allow men into intimate proximity. It means she will normalize attention, flirtation, emotional dependence, and blurred lines. Whether she intends harm or not becomes irrelevant. The structure itself carries risk. This is why standards matter early. Not as ultimatums, not as control, but as alignment. A man who knows himself does not argue endlessly. He observes values. He listens carefully to how a woman views boundaries, attention, and male access, and then he decides if that worldview fits his life. There is nothing wrong with walking away from dynamics that do not sit right with you. The world tries to shame men into silence by labeling boundaries as insecurity. But insecurity is staying in a situation that constantly triggers your instincts while forcing yourself to ignore them. Security is choosing environments that allow peace without constant vigilance. A woman who keeps multiple male emotional satellites is not necessarily malicious. Often, she simply enjoys being validated, desired, and supported from multiple angles. But a relationship is not meant to be a shared emotional ecosystem with open borders. It is meant to be focused, protected, and intentional. When energy is scattered, attachment weakens. A man who knows his worth does not compete with friends. He does not monitor phones. He does not demand proof. He does not perform tests. He chooses clarity. If a woman's life already contains emotional entanglements he would never allow for himself, he leaves, quietly, cleanly, without drama. The most powerful boundary is not what you say, it is what you walk away from. There is also an uncomfortable truth many men avoid admitting. If a woman truly desires and respects her partner, she naturally limits access to other men. Not because she is forced to, but because attraction narrows focus. When desire is strong, distractions lose appeal. When boundaries are constantly challenged, it often signals lukewarm attachment rather than deep connection. This does not mean perfection exists. It means priority exists. A relationship where one partner must constantly explain, justify, tolerate, and suppress instincts to appear secure is not balanced. It is negotiated survival. Real security feels calm. It does not require convincing yourself that obvious risks are imaginary. In the end, this is not about forbidding friendships. It is about recognizing patterns, about understanding how attraction actually works, about refusing to live inside denial. A man who leads his life consciously does not gamble his peace on theories that collapse under real-world behavior. He sets standards. He watches actions. He listens to his intuition. And when something consistently feels wrong, he does not argue with reality. He accepts it. That is not fear. That is self-respect.